The galaxy knew the Lithari as the quiet race hidden in silver deserts and silent valleys. Their world shone with icy plains and towering crystal cliffs that hummed with soft wind. They were once a respected people who traded knowledge, songs, and crystalline technology. Over time, the larger alliances discovered their gentle nature and exploited their work without offering protection. When the atrial marauders arrived, the Lithari screamed for help, but no neighbor answered. Their distress calls floated through space unheard or ignored. Entire cities froze under burning skies, and no navy arrived to shield them. The Lithari called this era the abandonment. When the humans arrived centuries later, they carried reputations that flowed through dark channels. They were the carnivores of the void, the beasts who feasted on meat and marched through war with steel spirits. Stories claimed they fought with a fire that frightened the coldest empires. These tales reached Lithari elders, and they shivered at the thought of meeting such creatures. Yet they had no strength left to refuse contact. Their world cracked under storms, stirred by hostile drones, and their last defense, GRID, fell with a cry that echoed across the horizon. So when the human frigate descended with smoke trailing behind its engines, many Lithari hid behind crystal pillars and waited for the end. Commander Ryland stepped onto frozen soil, and the ground hissed under his boots. He was tall by human standards, but appeared powerful to the Lithari, who stood with slim frames and trembling limbs. His visor reflected pale blue light. Behind him marched 12 humans in armor, striped with a symbol showing a sharp fang around a star. The Lithari elder named Orlin stepped forward with a voice shaking like breaking glass. He begged that his people be spared. Ryland removed his helmet and set it under his arm. His breath fogged the cold air as he looked around at the damaged structures. He asked Orlin who had attacked them. The elder explained the long history of abandonment and the raids that tore families apart. Ryland looked at the ruins and then at his soldiers. Humans were known for their fierce hunger and their warlike nature, but Ryland saw weakness in the Lithari, not as prey, but as a people who had survived through endurance, not violence. His ship had detected the distress signal, and he responded against orders because he believed no species should stand alone in misery. Ryland commanded his troops to unload supplies. Human containers hissed open with food, emergency shelters, and tools. The Lithari watched with confusion. They expected blades and fire, yet received blankets and rations. One young Lithari with shimmering eyes approached and asked if the humans demanded tribute. Ryland said they demanded nothing. Over the following days, the humans repaired energy lines, cleared rubble, and built temporary housing. The Lithari followed them in shy silence. Humans worked with aggressive energy, as if trying to wrestle chaos into order. Lithari healers became fascinated by human strength. They watched how the carnivorous species consumed nutrient bars made of compressed protein while working tirelessly. They whispered among themselves, wondering how beings who needed flesh for survival showed such compassion. One evening a storm rose over the plains. The sky glowed with violet lightning as winds whipped against shelter walls. A group of Lithari children had wandered too far while collecting crystal shards. Ryland immediately dispatched a rescue team. He led the charge through the storm, while sand and ice cut across their armor. They found the children crying under a fallen ridge. Ryland lifted the heavy slab with raw strength, and his team formed a protective circle until the sky calmed. When they returned, the Lithari elders bowed in gratitude. This single rescue changed the tone of the settlement. Fear softened into curiosity. Days turned into weeks, and Ryland's team built a defensive outpost around the main Lithari city. Radar towers rose like steel trees. Human engineers taught Lithari artisans how to reinforce crystal structures with alloy frameworks. In return, the Lithari shared their knowledge of resonant circuits formed through singing patterns. These circuits harmonized with natural frequencies of their world. Humans found this technology elegant and unlike anything they had studied before. The alliance between the two races grew naturally, as if filling a gap formed by centuries of silence. Still, tension lingered in hearts. Some humans questioned why they risked everything for a race unknown to them. Some Letharay feared the carnivorous instincts of their new allies. Yet cooperation moved forward because both sides recognized sincerity in each other. The humans gained a purpose beyond conquest. The Lethari gained hope beyond survival. One night Aurelin asked to meet Rylan on a high terrace overlooking the frozen cliffs. The elder spoke of an ancient Lethari belief that every species carried a core judge seated within their soul. This judge measured intent in silence. Aurelin said the human core judge must be strong because humans always seemed driven by a deep instinct to protect what mattered to them. Rylan replied that humanity had been forged by a harsh world where survival required strength, but compassion was what kept them from losing themselves. This shared moment bridged a cultural gap. Weeks later, a warning pulse echoed through the outpost. Atrial raiders returned with larger numbers. Their ships streaked across the sky like dark fangs. The humans stood ready with defensive cannons and reinforced shields. The Lethari trembled but prepared resonant amplifiers that could distort enemy sensors. Rylan ordered his commanders to hold formation. This battle would decide the fate of a world abandoned by all except humans. The atrial craft unleashed a barrage that lit the sky with red and gold streaks. Human cannons roared back. Shockwaves rippled through icy plains. Lethari amplifiers hummed with harmonic force that bent light around shields. The battlefield became a shimmering mosaic where crystal notes and human metal clashed with alien aggression. Rylan led an assault team to intercept enemy troops landing near the southern ridge. His squad charged with unmatched speed. Their boots carved paths through snow and rock. The atrial soldiers advanced with weapons that spat silver beams. Rylan dodged incoming fire and leaped forward with precise strikes. His armor absorbed glancing shots, while his team fired controlled bursts that tore through enemy lines. The Lethari watched in awe from safe distances. They never imagined humans fought like storms guided by purpose. The raiders eventually pushed closer to the heart of the settlement. Aurelin and younger Lethari used their resonance circuits to create a shield dome that vibrated like a glowing web. The energy hummed in rhythmic intervals. Human engineers synchronized pulse cannons with the rhythm. When the next wave of raiders struck the shield, the synchronized pulses shattered the enemy formation. The battlefield glowed with fractured light. Rylan locked eyes with the enemy commander standing atop a ridge. He charged toward the figure with determination. Their conflict became a duel of will and strategy. Rylan dodged energy blasts while climbing icy ledges. The enemy swung a charged blade, and sparks flew as it grazed Rylan's armor. Rylan seized the opening and countered with a swift blow that knocked the enemy back. The commander stumbled on fractured ice and fell to the ground. When the remaining raiders saw their leader defeated, their formation collapsed. They retreated into the sky, leaving behind silence that settled over the plains. The victory echoed across the settlement. Lethari families gathered to thank the humans. Children who once hid behind pillars now approached freely. Some even playfully touched the armor of human soldiers to see if they were as fierce as stories claimed. Humans laughed and shared survival tales. Unity sprouted from shared struggle. Aurelin called for a gathering at the center of the restored plaza. He stood on a raised platform beside Rylan. The Lethari held glowing shards that cast gentle light over everyone. Aurelin announced a historic decision. The Lethari would extend a formal alliance to the humans. No longer would they stand isolated. Rylan accepted on behalf of his people. The plaza erupted in joyous sound. Over time, the outpost grew into a joint settlement. Humans adapted to Lethari climate and learned the art of resonant circuit crafting. Lethari artisans began shaping crystal structures around human habitats, creating elegant shelters that combined strength and beauty. This collaboration produced wonders neither race could achieve alone. Years passed, and the story of the Lethari and the humans spread across the galaxy. Other nations questioned how the feared carnivorous species became protectors of a peaceful race. Some whispered that the humans did it to gain influence. Others said humanity had changed since their early expansion. Yet those who visited the Lethari world saw the truth. They saw human soldiers teaching Lethari children basic survival techniques. They saw Lethari healers tending to human explorers who struggled with the cold. They saw shared growth. Commander Rylan eventually became the appointed leader of the local human contingent. His influence guided both races toward deeper cooperation. Lethari architects worked with human engineers to build a grand hall at the center of the settlement. Its walls were woven with crystal threads that captured starlight each night. Humans added alloy supports and a communications center on the upper level. This hall became a symbol of unity. One day Orlin asked Rylan to accompany him to an ancient chamber hidden beneath the western ridge. The chamber contained a crystalline record that preserved memories of past genera.